was a day in racing where all of the racers, whether they were male or female, were big people.
That's right.
Big, thick necks, big hands, and the whole 9 yards.
Weight didn't matter.
Okay?
Yeah.
And now weight is critical.
That's right.
From an individual.
We definitely changed that. Star Racing, George Bryce and myself, when I came along, it was a big issue at first when they realized, how little I was, and I was only 95 pounds when I started racing Pro Stock motorcycles. We actually didn't even have enough space and enough weight to put on the motorcycle to make me the legal limit, which I think at the time was 600 pounds. So I had to start bulking up, started working out, getting some more muscles, gaining a little bit of weight. I got up to about 110, and that was where it was more comfortable for us with the weight on the motorcycle. And me, my weight to be able to drive the bike. At 95 pounds, I was all over the place sometimes. But when people saw that and they saw that we could distribute the weight where we needed it, the lower and the further forward you could put it, the better off you were for track back tire. At first, they hated us. Thought it wasn't fair. Tried to throw me out. Passed a lot of papers around the track, trying to get everybody to sign to get me thrown out. But they even tried to make a weight limit. What was the most you could add to your motorcycle to be fair? And of course, we were way over what they wanted to say was fair. But eventually, they saw that instead of just trying to fight us, how about join us? And so the drivers or the riders started going on diets. Some of them even retired and hired smaller drivers. And so now the whole thing has been changed completely. And you won't see a Pro Stock motorcycle driver over 150 pounds. And if you do, they're out of the norm now.
Wow, that's amazing.
Exactly. No doubt about it. If you think back on your entire career, what was the first race you ran where you said, this is what I really want to do. I don't want to do anything else. That
was way before I even got out here. I knew I used to race dirt bikes, motocross race from 6 years old.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure when I was introduced to NHRA drag racing. I know I came out to a Cajun Nationals event in Baton Rouge. I don't remember how old I was. It was, watching Top Fuel and stuff like that. I didn't know Pro Stock motorcycles yet, though, but I was introduced to the NHRA events. My uncle raced sportsmen at Baton Rouge on a motorcycle, so that's how I was introduced to racing a motorcycle on the racetrack. And I do know I was 18 years old when that happened. So when I went down the track in Baton Rouge for the first time, that's when I started paying attention to Pro Stock motorcycles, because I wanted to know, how can I do this for a profession? How can I do this for real, not just for a hobby? And I just instantly fell in love with the sport, fell in love with the category. John Myers became my hero. I watched every step he made. Terry Vance was another one. I remember having pictures of Terry Vance on my wall in my bedroom. I wasn't your typical girl. I didn't have like the rock stars and stuff like that. I had John Myers, Terry Vance, Dave Schultz. I had all those people on my wall. And I contacted George Bryce. He was running Frank Hawley's drag racing school. Told him I'd like to race a Pro Stock motorcycle. Pretty much everybody in the world besides him laughed at me when they looked at a 95-pound girl wanting to do this. And but I went out to Frank Hawley's, made a few laps, and George said he saw dollar signs. He said if he could. He said I had all the things that he couldn't teach, how to get out there and want to win, how to get out there and want to learn. He couldn't teach those things. And the things that I was doing wrong on the motorcycle, he could teach me how to fix that. So we came together and we were a pretty unstoppable force. So we had a great 7 years, left him, moved on to Don Schumacher for a while, had a great time with them, and Steve Tartaglia as my crew chief. My career was pretty much all without regrets. I had a wonderful time. The only thing I can say I wish I would have done differently is win 5 more races. And I tried, but...
Sure.
Yeah. Now, you weren't the first female motorcycle rider, were you?
Actually, yes. We came out together at the same race. I think it was Stephanie Reeves was her name. Karen Stouffer showed up. We were in Denver, Colorado in July of '96. We all 3 showed up at the first race together. So we kind of debuted on the same day. I was the only one who stayed the entire time. They both kind of went off and came back and went off and came back, and then eventually Karen Stouffer did land sponsorship and was able to stay out for several years after that. But I was the first one to win, first one to get a championship behind Shirley Muldowney, of course, but in the category. But you can ask any girl out here, any girl from the past, what that means to be the first girl, and it really doesn't mean a whole bunch. I'm proud of that achievement, but the winningest rider or racer is what I wanted, and I didn't get that. So I'm glad I got the winningest female, but it doesn't mean what I wanted, what I want. And I can't even go back in time and beat Dave Schultz, because unfortunately we lost him to cancer. But if I could just beat his wins and become the winningest racer, then I'd be the happiest girl in the world.
So what are you doing nowadays?
I'm a mommy. I'm chasing after a 3-year-old, which is probably harder than running a Pro Stock motorcycle. But I'm loving every minute of it. I'm so glad that I got my career done the way I did it. You know, raced as long as I could. I waited forever to have a baby, but I finally have her. And of course, everyone's asking all weekend long, you know, are you ever going to come back? And being out here is making it real tough to say no, and I've never said no, I'm never coming back. I always say I'll never say never. So you never know what's going to happen down the line. I think it's getting to the point where I actually suffer from separation anxiety from my little girl. She's not the one who suffers it from me. And so the hardest part that keeps me away is knowing that she wouldn't be able to be with me all the time. So if I could figure out a way to have her out here, get some sponsorship money, you know, put a package together and get out here, you never know. I might be, that's why I said if those girls don't hurry up and get those 2 more wins, I might come back and see if I can do it.
I want to take you down a little bit of a different angle, okay? You're 17, 18, 19 years old. You can choose any kind of racing that you might want to choose. Why was it motorcycles? Why was it drag racing?
It's been motorcycles since I was born. My brother used to race dirt bikes when I was little. I wanted to do everything my brother did. He's probably one of my most favorite people in the world still today. He's just a cool guy, and I wanted to be just like him. He was racing dirt bikes, I wanted to race dirt bikes. I don't know where the passion from motorcycles came from other than that. My mom makes jokes and says that when she was 3 months pregnant, before she found out she was pregnant, she fell off of a motorcycle running through the cane fields in Louisiana. She thinks somehow something happened to me in the womb that made me be so passionate about motorcycles. And I mean, all my life I've been that way. I just love motorcycles, just like a gearhead loves race cars. I don't know, the sound of a motorcycle gets me excited. The first race that I went to that I didn't compete at was Gainesville in 2009. I cried my eyes out when I heard the motorcycles going down the racetrack. It was like a part of me had just been ripped away from me, and it was really hard for me to handle it, and that's why I didn't come back for several years. But now I'm okay with being here. I'm enjoying being a spectator. I'm not a race fan per se. I'm a racer, so I would much prefer to be out there. But since the bikes aren't here today, I think it's what made it a lot easier for me.
Yeah. How many races had you made since you retired?
This is only my 3rd.
Okay.
I did the Indy race when we announced my retirement. I came here 2 years ago, but very briefly, like a half a day. We came in, popped in, said hello to some bike friends, and took off. This is my first full event that I've actually hung out and had a good time and enjoyed myself.
Do you get on a motorcycle as part of your normal life?
I haven't. I do have a Hayabusa at home in my garage. It hasn't been started in probably 2 years. I haven't ridden since before Ava was born, so it's been quite a while. And yes, I do. I love riding, but that whole thing changed my mind as a mommy to get out on the streets, you know, the regular streets, not the racetrack. But it's so dangerous. We actually just had an accident just recently that my friend was involved in, and a guy was killed, car cut out in front of him. So I try to stay away from the street riding as much, you know, just because of I want to be here for my baby girl. But I know that this is safe. I know that I'm not going to say that nothing can happen to me out here, but this is so much safer. So if ever I feel the need to ride again, I'll either go to Frank Hawley's drag racing school, jump on one of George's bikes, or you never know. Like I said, I might one day end up back out here.
When you look at motorcycles running right now, do you see any little difference that just says, oh, God, I gotta have that, with what they're doing with that sport
definitely.
now?
Especially now that the playing field seems to be so much more level. I know they fought for that with the Harleys and the Suzukis and the Buells, and it looks like they finally found that happy ground for everybody to be real competitive. That makes me feel like, man, why couldn't they have done that when I was out here? Because I just wanted an equal advantage with everybody else, no matter what kind of bike I was on. and I see the speeds that they're going now. The ETs are dropping, and of course, you know, you want to do that. You know, my record was broken several times since I had it, and I'd love to go back and see how it feels to go that fast again. That's one thing that I would probably be a little bit nervous about too, is, you know, how much faster they're going. Although it's probably not that big of a feeling on the motorcycle, but it still is in your head, you know, that you're going that fast.
Sure.
As you look around, do you see other women involved in other forms of racing even, and have good thoughts in what you see from them?
You mean like within NHRA?
Do you see anywhere? Do you see Danica Patrick, Shauna Robinson?
I don't watch NASCAR. I've never been a NASCAR fan. My attention span is set for drag racing. I think all drag racers have ADD, but so I can't sit there and watch all that stuff going in circles. But I'm a huge Erica Enders fan. I love her to death. I'm so proud of what she's doing. They did ask me. We did some interviewing yesterday, and I talked about it. To me, it's like I don't look at the girls and say, "Oh wow, look what this girl is doing," because I expect it of them. I expect that if Greg Anderson is on the left lane and Eric Enders is in the right lane, I expect equal talent coming from both of them. I don't look at her as a girl. I look at her as a racer, and I guess it's because of who I am. And I think each girl that's out here probably feels the same way. You know, maybe the marketability is a little bit different because it's a female, but maybe I didn't even use that to my advantage as much as I should have, but I just wanted to be the same as everybody else. I wanted the same opportunity out there. I wanted to beat the guys. I wanted them to look at me as much of a threat as Antron Brown. You know, if you're racing Angelle, you're racing Antron. I want the threat to be equal, and I didn't want it to be because it was a girl in the other lane that they were afraid to lose to a girl. I wanted them to be proud of me, and sometimes that was hard because the guys didn't always feel that way. But so I look at all these girls out here. I'm very proud of them. I'm very happy that NHRA gives us a playground to do this, because I know that there's not many other sports in the world that the guys can compete against the girls and it be equal. So.
Okay, one final question, at least from me, all right? If you could get on a bike and run right now, who would you want to run against?
It's funny that you're like the third person to ask me that this weekend, and the answer is John Myers. And that's because he was my teammate, he was one of my best friends, he was one of the best racers of all time in Pro Stock Motorcycle, and he was the hardest person in the world for me to beat in my head. Every time we get on the starting line together, I couldn't beat him. I don't know if it was because I just adored him so much or I was scared of him, but I couldn't beat him. So if I could ever have the opportunity to race him again, I would take it. But unfortunately, like Dave Schultz, we also lost him to a motorcycle accident on the street. So I'll never get that opportunity until maybe I've passed on as well. And I guarantee you, if we're in heaven together, I'm setting up that match race one day.
Well, thank you very, very much, and
You're very
congratulations, and I hope you get in the future what you want.
Thank you. I appreciate that.